The vet view of raw. The vet view of raw, there are two major issues. One is it complete and balanced? And that is why veterinarians hate home prepared diets, because they can't analyze it, they can't work out if it's complete and balanced. So that's not the issue here, because perfectly raw produces complete and balanced food. That's done. The other problem is bacteria. All meat at all times must be considered to be infected with E. coli and Salmonella. You hope that there's only limited quantities of Listeria and Cryptosporidia in the meat. That is the meat that you bring into your house to eat yourself, that you feed your dog or your cat, that you cook with, that comes into this restaurant to be made into food, meals. All chicken, all eggs has Salmonella, and beef often has Salmonella and E. coli, mostly not the highly pathogenic Salmonella in E. coli, but it does have bacteria. That is why Health Canada has a section on their website to which perfectly raw refers, that you need to practice safe food handling. And safe food handling, you can guarantee that there's probably 99 out of 100 homes that do not adequately practice safe food handling. And when I'm talking about that, I just mentioned a client is, oh, do you have a dishcloth that you use to wipe the counter? Well, that dishcloth stays infected. Do you have a dish brush that you use to brush the food? Well, there's another source. Unless you're completely using disposable tools, disposable gloves on your hands, and hydrogen peroxide at high strength, you're contaminating everything when you prepare with raw meat. And that is bringing the raw food into the house definitely increases the bacterial count of the house. There is no question. Do I worry about that for the dog or cat? No, they have very acidic stomachs because they're carnivores. They handle these bugs just fine. They do occasionally, a dog will develop diarrhea, and probably the source is a raw food. But mostly they handle it fine. The risk is to family members. And the veterinarians here actually are correct. The risk is to family members. Now, I'm not worried about the family members who are healthy. But who is the risk group? All children under 5, pregnant women, and anybody who has an immunodeficiency disease or problem. That would be all transplant people, probably just about everybody over the age of 80 years, and there will be other people that just have asthma. Probably most people with allergies do not have great immune systems or immune systems that are not in balance. The other problem here is the dogs that are hairy faces with beards, your average schnauzer. So the average schnauzer goes and eats the raw food gets in its beard. There is no way you can clean that beard. And then of course the schnauzer comes and kisses grandma. Not such a happy situation. So you do want to be careful that when you're recommending raw, that the owner wants to feed it in a way. So that I offer to clients, do you want to feed raw or cooked if they're making a homemade diet? And we discuss it and so forth. I have some clients in with schnauzers. They want to feed raw, and we talk about it, and I say, and here's the information, it's your choice. I think raw is the best food you can feed your dog. but I'm not sure it's the best food that you want in your house. And I do believe that we should, our recommendations should be in the interest of the family. The pet is part of the family. I am a family pet veterinarian. I am not just a pet veterinarian. I care about the family. So I think it's very careful to select that. So when you're talking about raw and the veterinarian's objections, you do want to consider it. On the other hand, there are some people in the room that really like their German Shepherds. When a German Shepherd walks into my exam room, and they're a nice Shepherd, I am the best dog in the world. When they're not nice, they're not the best dog in the world. When they're the best dog in the world, I want that Shepherd on raw. Shepherds, I don't know why, I don't have a good explanation, but boy, do they ever do much better on raw. There are lots of dogs that fit into that category that Jeff talked about, but Shepherds in particular. And I've had a lady walk in with an obvious 2-year-old child rushing around the room. You can tell I prefer dogs and cats to children. And the running around the room, and the Shepherd's there, and you know, it's one of those mangy Shepherds, a bit on the thin side, its coat's a bit dry, it's, you know, it's just what we call ADR, ain't doing right dog. And first thing I say is, you prepared to feed raw? She said yes. I said, okay, let's talk about safety and with the child and so on and so forth. And I'm not so worried because the Shepherd has short hair, it's going to eat the food immediately, it's going to be good, and she had a household that was under control and so forth. She went home, the dog did fantastic, everybody's happy. But that's a sort of a black and a white situation. There are some families that I don't think raw goes with, and I think my colleagues are right in one aspect, and that's the bacteria, and that's because of our intensive agricultural system. Now, if you have access, well, you don't because it's perfectly raw, but the people that have access to the mixed family farm, it's a little different. They don't have these problems because it's a mixed family farm and they're doing rotation and so on and so forth, and they're not doing the feedlot and the pig barns and the chicken barns and so forth. But there certainly are quite a few dogs that raw is absolutely the answer. The Shepherds are an easy category to talk about. All right, so dogs in general. Dogs in general are scavenger, omnivorous carnivores. They are not true carnivores. It is most important to understand this when you're advising on raw, because the dog out in the wild would have chased the rabbit, so got exercise, and eaten the whole rabbit. Now the dog, unlike the cat, will eat the hide and chew all the bones, and it will eat the entire intestinal tract, including the contents. And what's in the contents of a rabbit or a mouse or a deer intestinal tract? Grass. Some digested, some not. So a dog is not eating only meat. That is a misconception to the detriment of our dogs. They are scavengers. You know that. You walk a beagle down the back lane, yeah, whatever, it'll eat it. And so dogs have been scavenging human habitation for 20,000 years. The cats have been kept with humans, but they've been kept as hunters of the mice and the rats. The dogs have been scavenging cooked people food, raw people food, rotten meat, what the people didn't eat, which was some of the bones and backbones and the hide and the guts. So dogs need probably 30 to 50% protein. They're much more active than the cat that wants to sleep all day and does in our household sleep all day. The dog is active so that the source of energy for that activity can be fat or carbohydrate. It is best if it is complex carbohydrate. And probably the most problematic thing that we have with commercial dry canned dog food is the simple carbohydrate level as opposed to the complex carbohydrate. What's the simple carbohydrate? Corn syrup. Anything that you buy that's in a package has corn syrup in it. It is bad. You should not eat it. Anything that is complex carbohydrates is all the pulses, chickpeas, lentils, beans, peas. That's your complex carbohydrates. It's probably true that in fact the whole no grain concept may not be no grain, it may be no simple carbohydrates. It may be a carbohydrate problem, not a grain, gluten, protein problem. Now there are certainly dogs that are allergic to wheat, gluten and so forth, that's true. But on average, all those dogs that owners that come in and say my dog does much better on a no grain diet, probably it is a complex carbohydrate diet rather than a no grain diet, which is why oat containing diets seem to be fine. So that's the protein, the fat and carbohydrate. Dogs need soluble and insoluble protein. Now there's a difference here between your small medium dog. Your small medium dog does great on cat food. You know the client that comes in, it's got a Chihuahua, doesn't like anything. I have to hand feed it chicken, cooked, with, cheese on it, whatever, put them on cat food. Cat food is always better quality than dog food. Dogs can live on cat food. Cats, because of their taurine requirement, cannot live on dog food. Dogs can live on cat food. So your fussy little dogs, they do much better on cat food. And owners love it when their little fussy dogs eat. Your small and medium sized dogs do great on just about all protein diets. The high protein diets, you bring me a, whatever. I was going to say a Shih Tzu, but they've got other problems. Bring me, a Yorkie Terrier or a Chihuahua, and I put it on cat food or raw food and so forth. It's going to do great. Medium-sized dogs, you can probably feed them anything. I mean, they're Cocker Spaniels or Beagles. They'll eat anything. They do fine. The big dogs. Remember, the big dog is hunting down the deer, and the first thing that dog is eating is the intestines. What's in the intestines? All that grass. Big dogs, it has been shown by Dr. Mike Willard at Texas A&M that big dogs' large bowels need increased fiber or they will have diarrhea and colitis and diarrhea. So one of the issues with the healthy dog, this is the healthy dog, and when the client comes back in and says, his poop's really small but it's pretty soft, you need to add fiber. What's the ideal fiber? The ideal fiber is any fiber. It's called vegetables. And I don't care how they add it. They can add it whole, diced, pureed, raw, cooked. Which vegetables? What can you buy in the supermarket? But it needs to be added to every meal. So make no mistake, a lot of the solutions to the raw food large dog that has soft stool is fiber. And that also applies, by the way, to your good quality dry or canned food. Most of you have only good quality foods in the store, hopefully. And again, I find that on some of these good quality food, there's very little fiber in there. You need to add fiber to the food. Okay, now.